Welcome back, y'all, to another episode of Culture Soul, where culture and soul unite. I'm Mariah, and today we have a special guest with us who is going to introduce himself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Chance Johnson. I'm a freshman, and my major is political science.
So, Chance, tell us about yourself and how did you even end up at Cookman?
I live in Houston, and I ended up at Cookman because my oldest sister graduated from here in '07, I believe. So I'm legacy, period. I remember coming to Daytona when she graduated and seeing campus and going to the beach and I'm already low key familiar with the area. So, I knew I was gonna go to an HBCU, and so it only makes sense to go, to your family's alma mater.
And what made you choose political science?
Honestly, I feel like there's a lot of things that I'm interested in. So it was a hard decision, but political science is the most direct link to my personality. You know what I mean? Everything I do, I feel is political. Everything is politics. You know what I mean?
Yes.
There's nothing that politics doesn't touch or cross. And I'm a strong advocate for doing the right thing. Politics really is something I could really get into and do a great job in because I'm passionate about it.
So what do you want to do after school?
I don't necessarily know, but I do know whatever it is, it's gonna be it's gonna be really something. It's really gonna be something incredible.
So, with everything that's been going on, this whole pandemic with Black Lives Matter and election year, and just it's been chaotic, obviously. How have you used your political personality to, I guess, stand out and try to make a difference or speak out during this time?
So that's a great question. You guys are good at this. But I feel so I went to the protest, one of my actual first protest back in Houston, with George Floyd's passing and everything.
Yes.
So that was one of the first things that really made me realize that there are so many people out here who are actually fighting for change and fighting for equality and letting their voice be heard, not online, not on Twitter, but in real life. And after that night, after the first protest I went to, it just activated something in my spirit, even more than what was already activated because I've experienced racism, we all have, growing up our whole lives, and so experiencing that made me come to the front lines. And so now everything I do is I walk into a room, I'm vote Biden, literally. It's just we're at a point in time where it's so hard for you to keep normally you would keep politics away from everything, professional. When you're at work, you don't speak about politics. But now, since the front line of the main political race is morals and, the content of your character, it's how can you not walk in a room and say, vote for Biden? If you're a Trump supporter, you got to weed yourself out.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely political, very political. I'm very vocal about my opinions and my views because I was raised to always speak on what's right and to always have your voice be heard, because even though it might not seem like it to us because we're living in the moment and we're in the present, in the future we're going to be somebody's past.
Yes.
And you always want to be on the right side of history. You don't want to be on the bad side of the history book.
Okay.
Yeah.
You got me sitting here lost at words because everything that you said, I was just soaking it in. And you're right. Honestly, it was hard to see everything that was going on this summer, and that's still going on to this day. Like you were saying before we had the cameras rolling, a lot of voter suppression has occurred. And I mean, there's some positives about it though, because as we've heard, California, for example, something just passed where is it felons I think felons were allowed to vote in California, so that was a big deal.
A big thing, yeah.
Yeah, so I feel like a lot of, like, this election, I'm happy that, you know, we've had the chance to vote. Like, it's our time to vote. And young people, like, waking up and going out and voting.
Right.
Not this many young people have voted, like,
ever. Yeah.
So that's a big deal. I feel like our generation has been very, like, just on it. Because we are the generation that's not afraid to speak out and voice our opinions. And the older generation, they don't like that. Well, some of them do, but a lot of them are sitting there like, excuse me, like, you can't be doing that. You can't say that.
Yeah.
But, like, we don't care because we're trying to do what's right. And we don't care who we have to get in the way of, who we have to put a stop to, who we have to, like, whose feelings we have to hurt. Because at the end of the day, it's about being right. It's about doing the right thing. It's about getting the wrong person out of the office, because nobody wants to really do another 4 years of that.
Right. So honestly, first of all, I just want to say I'm a firm believer in the fact that the electoral college system is a scam. Mm-hmm. Because if you do your history on the reason why the electoral college was invented in the first place, it has no standing in today's America. It has no purpose anymore. The original purpose was to foil, you know, ignorance in the voting system, to get people who weren't politically involved out of the voting pool. And even that is a form of voter suppression in itself.
Yes.
A lot of American systems are created in a, you know, in a culture of weeding out people who are not for the main cause, which in today's America is racism, as we all can see. And I think what you said was very good, and it's like exactly what I've been telling all of my friends and my family members. I've been calling them on the phone because I'm like restless watching the results and the stats and everything. And what I told them was, the first night I was super, super scared, like super emotional. I was like checking my phone, watching the news. I was so nervous. Like, I was getting emotional looking at the pictures of our ancestors who fought for us to get the voting right in the first place. And I told them I lost all of that stress once I came to one of the realizations, which was the fact that our generation can vote now. People my age, a couple years older, can vote now.
Yes.
We're the generation of change. There's been so much happening, and I think a lot of it attests to the popularity of like social media, because when injustices happen, they're on everyone's screen, they're in everyone's home, they're on everyone's mind. But seeing our generation be that generation that is just so wild and so out there and so dynamic, I realized we definitely have power. And even if the vote goes to Trump, which it's not, even if the vote did go to Trump, you have to look at the positive side of things. And there's so much incredible voter turnout and so many incredible elections besides the presidential election. You know, there's a transgender congresswoman, I believe. There's a lot of decriminalization of drugs that are only used to, you know, profit off of mass incarceration. And there's like a lot of good things that are happening regardless of if, you know, Donald is still in there or not. So I have been looking at that, and I have been soaking all that in, and I'm very grateful for the fact that there are a lot of people in my generation who see, you know, the power of their vote. Everybody's vote matters. Everybody's voice counts. If it didn't, they wouldn't try so hard to suppress your vote. I mean...
It's like, the day that I went to go vote, I had on my Black Voters Matter apparel, like, literally head to toe, bracelet, pin, and there were a few people that were staring at me like, girl, but I was just like, no, like, Black voters do matter,
right.
One, and two, like, I'm proud to be voting. I don't care if, you know, there's some people out here, like, and it's getting on my nerves, some people out here that are like, oh, well, regardless, like, whoever's in office, it's just all a bad deal, da-da-da-da. I mean...
It's not the point.
Yeah, that's really not the point. Like, we can't just sit here and say that, because today, like, we are dealing with climate change, we're dealing with racism, we're dealing with a trillion issues,
right.
Yeah, that, like, impact us in our future. Like, not even just the next 4 years, the next 20 years, the
Right.
next 40 years, by the time we have kids. Like, so, no, I don't care about well, I'm not voting because my vote doesn't really matter. Nobody's really my one little vote, like,
Those
be
people
for real.
are the worst. And I tried my best to get everyone I knew to vote, which they did, because I don't I don't play about the voting, you guys. All my friends, I'm like, you need to go vote, you need to mail in your ballot, you need to get registered, you need to do everything you need to do. If you're registered in another county, submit another application so that you can get re-registered in this one. You know, everything, because it's so important for everyone to get their voice heard. Because just like I said a minute ago, if your vote didn't matter, they wouldn't try so hard to suppress it. And it's like the people that came before us fought so hard for us to be able to vote, and a lot of people in our generation are so bogged down by everything that's going on right now with the, Trump supporters and the, white supremacy groups and all this stuff, the police brutality. But that's not new. That stuff was happening when we gained the right to vote in the first place, and it's because we persevered and we pushed through. We have to keep going. You have to keep going. You have to go to the poll. You have to mail in your ballot, do whatever you need to do. And so now the jig is up. Florida's red, which is not surprising. But again, like I was saying off camera, there's so much voter suppression and there's so many obstacles put in the way of people's vote that at this point I do believe that there would have been much more Democratic votes in Florida. And even if the votes are 100% correct, which I wouldn't be upset at either, because it's pretty obvious in the political climate what people believe. I was walking back from the store on, what's today? Thursday, right?
Yeah, today's Thursday.
Tuesday morning. And I saw this woman and I said, make sure you guys go vote, because the CCE was open for voting. And she said, I can't vote, I'm a convict. And that really weighed heavy on my heart. And so I told her, I was like, as long as I'm alive, I promise you I'm going to do everything I can in my power to change that, because that's a problem. If you are in jail and you serve your time and you get out, why do you have something looming over your head after you've already served?
Yeah, because you're not even 100% free. Voting is the one right that nobody should be able to take away from you. Out of all rights.
Exactly.
That's something that nobody should be able to take away from you. That's literally one freedom that you can get up and go do and express. And that's sickening that they're just holding that over people's heads.
Exactly. And I just don't feel like it's not right. It's not that I feel like it's not right. It's not right. Because the way our system is set up, there's so many people in there to begin with that are innocent. And that are in there for minor infractions that just pile up and pile up and pile up on their record. That the system is so, it just doesn't work. It's not fair to give convicts a pass to freedom, unlock their cell, and then they can't vote. They can't do certain civil liberties that everybody else can do, but they still have to pay taxes. It just doesn't make sense. Now, what I will say is, depending on your offense, there can be, varying degrees of this liberation of your vote. But it should not be anybody convicted of a felony is ineligible to vote. It's just not right.
So how are you feeling? Election day was November 3rd, Tuesday, and we're still waiting around for results. It's Thursday now, and I literally, probably an hour ago, I literally just got a notification from CNN talking about Nevada was going to take several more days to count. And I'm like...
So here's the thing, because I've been following the election very closely, restlessly. I was up until 4 a.m. last night. And I've been telling my mom that I don't have a doubt in my heart that Biden is going to win because of the research that I've done and the fact that Nevada was blue for the past 3 elections. And if you look at the current, we're in a pandemic, which is why the mail-in ballot was such a big form of voting this year. And if you take a look at what's going on, a lot of those mail-in ballots are Democratic votes because Republicans follow the word of Trump, who ignores coronavirus pandemic, who does not socially distance, and who actually caught COVID not too recently. And so they don't, they're anti-maskers, things of that nature. So a lot of their votes were in-person votes, which is why a lot of the states that first appeared red switched over to blue. Yep. Because after they pushed in those mail-in ballots, they started getting the Democratic voices. So with that being said, Trump is trying to do everything he can to halt the votes, to stop the counting, which is a direct infraction of American civil rights.
Yes.
But what he's failing to realize is once Biden is in the lead, if you stop the count, that's the count. He's in the lead. 75% of Nevada is counted and it's blue. Donald, give it up. The jig is up. You know, you're gonna lose your job. It's gone. You know, and it's like the scary part about it is even without Trump as president, there will still be a lot of outward expression of hatred and outward expression of bigotry and all this stuff. But the flip side of that is, just like I was saying, our generation, we're not putting up with that. We're not taking that. We're not hearing. We're not listening to that. You know, it's like, if you guys are going to continue to be hateful, we're going to continue to be loving. We're going to continue to be educational. We're going to continue to show you guys why you're wrong. We're going to continue to reach out and help each other and uplift each other and stop marginalizing people. Stop this divide. Trump has created such a huge divide in America. It's ridiculous. It's about time he's gotten out of office so we can start getting back to, normalcy. It's like nothing is normal right now. It's so crazy.
Thank you for this conversation. It was very, in-depth and educational and informing, and I think that you I think that you're gonna do big I think that you're gonna do big things.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I definitely am. I pretty much made up my mind on Tuesday that I'm gonna be an activist and I'm gonna start on my path to creating change, because this is ridiculous. Like, if you're watching this and you pacify Trump supporters, or you know a Trump supporter, or you are a Trump supporter, it's just wrong. It's just wrong. There's no other way to say it. It's just wrong. It's inhumane, the things that he has said about different races of people, different groups of people, LGBTQIA plus community. It's just ridiculous. So if you're a Trump supporter, you should be ashamed. And I highly recommend you start listening to people around you who are trying to create change and trying to, inform you on why you're wrong. It's ridiculous. Grab them by the... Come on. Trump said grab him by the blank before he was elected.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. So if you're a Trump supporter, please... we're going to pray for you. It's like, God.
You heard it here from Chance. This is another episode of Culture Soul, signing out.